My name is Thomas Weller. I'm 67 years old, a retired high school history teacher from Ohio. I spent most of my life chalking lessons onto a blackboard, raising 3 children with my late wife, Claire, and quietly dreaming of the day I could trade the noise of the classroom for calm waters and birdsong. That dream came true 6 years ago when I bought a modest, beautiful cabin on Whispering Pines Lake, tucked away in the quiet woods of northern Georgia. I didn't come to make noise. I didn't come to stir up trouble. I came for peace, the kind of peace I believed I'd earned. But peace isn't always what people want for you. Sometimes your quiet happiness unsettles others. Sometimes it just doesn't fit into their version of how things should be. The cabin was built in the 1950s by a World War II veteran, Earl Jenkins. He passed it down to his son, then his grandson, who eventually sold it to me. It had a creaky dock, a stone chimney, and a redwood porch where Claire's old rocking chair still sits. That chair was her favorite spot on earth. She passed away 8 years ago. Now, it's mine. The neighborhood wasn't fancy, but it felt close-knit. I kept my yard tidy, showed up for the occasional potluck, and mostly spent my days fishing or fixing things. Then the letters came. From the Whispering Pines Lakefront Homeowners Association, a group I'd never heard of. The first letter arrived in April, just as the daffodils began to bloom. Notice of non-compliance, unapproved alterations, rustic dock, non-standard materials. That dock? Earl built it in 1960. Sure, it's old, but it's sturdy, and it sits on my land. I called the number at the bottom of the letter. Voicemail. A second letter followed, harsher, threatening legal action, fines, demolition. They were trying to intimidate me, but after 35 years dealing with detention-bound teenagers, I can spot a bluff. I pulled out my deed. Clear as day. My parcel was exempt from the HOA, grandfathered in, years before they ever existed. I attended one of their meetings, held in a slick, modern clubhouse on the hill, landscaped, flagpole, yoga on Saturdays. It was run by a man named Brett Campbell, the kind of guy who peaked as high school quarterback and never stopped reliving the glory. "Mr. Weller," he said, like I was some unruly child, "we're just trying to maintain standards." I looked at him and said, "This cabin was built before you were born, son, and it'll outlast that clubhouse of yours." That's when I noticed something. Their clubhouse, their pride and joy, was built partly on my land. When they expanded 5 years ago, they crossed the line, literally, 20 feet over the southern boundary, onto my property. A slice of patio, a storage shed, all on my side. So I hired a lawyer. They doubled down, more letters, more threats. But I wasn't afraid. I served them a cease and desist. That got their attention. Suddenly, Brett and his board were all smiles. They offered to buy the land. I declined. They offered to help remove my dock. I laughed. Finally, they proposed a deal. "Let us keep using the back portion of your land, and we'll rescind the violation." I looked him in the eye and said, "I'm not interested in deals with people who bully their neighbors." I gave them 60 days to vacate. They didn't think I meant it, but I did. We filed the eviction notice. 2 months later, with a court order and a sheriff present, it became official. The HOA had trespassed, and they had to choose: pay rent or demolish the structure. They chose demolition. The neighborhood was divided. Some thought I went too far. Others, quietly grateful. Turns out I wasn't the first. There was an old couple who kept a clothesline, a widower with too many lawn gnomes. No one had stood up to them, until now. That summer, I rebuilt the dock. I planted sunflowers near the edge of the property where the clubhouse's shadow used to fall, and I added a small plaque to Claire's chair. It reads, "In memory of peace, hard-earned." At 67, here's what I've learned. 1. Know your rights. Titles and threats don't override the law. 2. Stand your ground. Even quiet folks can make a mighty noise when it counts. 3. Peace is worth protecting. You can always rebuild a shed, but you can't always rebuild your peace of mind. 4. Kindness isn't weakness. Being respectful doesn't mean being a pushover. True strength is quiet, steady, sure. So if you're facing pressure, threats, or injustice, remember this. Even a retired teacher with a rocking chair and a stubborn heart can move mountains when pushed to.